From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. Despite threats by the United States, by self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido has arrived in Venezuela without any issues. No arrest warrant has been issued against Guaido, and he passed unimpeded through customs at Caracas airport. Several European ambassadors went to the airport to meet him, including those from Germany, France, and the Netherlands. Opposition supporters gathered in the east of the capital to welcome him. Guaido had called for protests across the country on the day he returned to Venezuela. Both the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and the National Security Advisor John Bolton warned of a strong and swift response if any action were taken against the opposition lawmaker. And following the welcome given to Guaido by EU ambassadors, Venezuela's foreign minister has accused Germany and other European governments of illicit and hostile interference in Venezuelan affairs. Jorge Arreaza noted that the German parliament had already condemned its government's behavior. And despite the United States' attempts to split Venezuela's armed forces, the vast majority of the military remain loyal to the constitution, as our correspondent there reports.
Always loyal, never traitors. It's more than a slogan. It's a commitment to defend Venezuela. The military feel they've been underestimated.
We have never doubted our capacity, our determination to win. Because when we have right on our side, truth on our side, we are bound to win. There is no room for pessimism or doubt. We are convinced we will prevail because we are on the right side of history.
From the lowest ranks to the highest, these soldiers know exactly what they are doing.
We're going to defend our territory. Always loyal, never traitors.
We have just one objective, to defend our country.
We are absolutely firm about defending this country. And if we have to die for that, so be it.
On the 23rd of February, the supposed D-Day, the international media showed deserters as trophies. They even defended those who stole vehicles and ran over dozens of people. The Colombian authorities protected them. What in other parts of the world would have been called terrorism, here was rewarded. The end justified the means, never mind if they were dead or injured. Betrayal live on TV. There are reports of between 100 and 500 deserters. That's less than 1% of the 300,000 strong armed forces, without counting the 2 million in the militia.
As far as we're concerned, they were never soldiers. Being a soldier isn't just wearing a uniform. It is a series of principles and values, like patriotism and wish to defend Venezuela. So this doesn't worry us. There could be more of them. If they want to go, let them go. But the reality here in the armed forces is that there is cohesion and patriotism. If you go around the barracks, you'll feel the nationalist, patriotic spirit of the soldiers.
Many don't understand what is going on in the armed forces and why they haven't split. And that is what the PSUV leader, Diosdado Cabello, explained to Mexican journalist Luis Hernandez.
They were banking on a split in the armed forces, because an invasion of Venezuela would cost the United States dearly. Not just in money, but in lives. So they needed an element of internal support, and the opposition can't give them that.
We are going to preserve the sovereignty of our country, comrades.
They are convinced they will stand firm. All the deserters have been stripped from their rank and expelled from the armed forces for treason.
The meeting between CARICOM and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has been postponed until further notice. CARICOM's chairman, along with the prime ministers of Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados, were expected to hold talks on Venezuela with Pompeo on Wednesday. However, the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad has informed that the meeting will not take place as planned. CARICOM leaders say they remain open to meeting with the U.S. as they continue to pursue a peaceful and sustainable outcome for Venezuela.
To events in our wider region over the past 2 months.
Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has met with the President of the Russian Senate, Valentina Matvienko, to discuss the current situation in Venezuela. Our correspondent in Moscow, Hansel Oro, has more.
Venezuela's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, met with several Russian officials during her visit to the country. First, she met with the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. During a press conference after the meeting, Lavrov stressed the importance of supporting a dialogue in Venezuela and rejected any possible military interference, an option pushed by the United States. Lavrov warned that this could be the first of many other U.S. interventions in the region. Rodriguez also met with the President of the Russian Senate, Valentina Matvienko, who gave Rodriguez a copy of the declaration, signed by the members of the Senate, and delivered to the United Nations and other international organizations to reaffirm their support for the Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro. Next month, the two countries are expected to meet again in a bilateral meeting to analyze several of the agreements signed between the two governments. As for this trip, Rodriguez said Venezuela and Russia since long have a close strategic relationship, but now their partnership has grown even stronger.
That was Hansel Oro from Russia. And in other news, the chief executive of the Brazilian mining company Vale has stepped down in the wake of the Brumadinho disaster that killed nearly 200 people. 3 other executives from Vale have also resigned, although the company says this is temporary. This comes 5 weeks after a dam run by the company ruptured, and over 120 people are still missing. 2 migrants have been killed and another 6 were injured after being attacked by armed assailants in the Mexican state of Chiapas. The migrants, mostly Guatemalans, were traveling in 3 vehicles with 2 groups of armed men who were most likely human traffickers when they were attacked by unknown gunmen. Authorities have launched an investigation into the case, but the identities of the 2 deceased are still unknown. Those wounded will be sent back to Guatemala. This weekend marked 3 years since the assassination of Berta Cáceres. Our correspondent in Tegucigalpa, Gilda Silvestrucci, brings us up to date with her case.
In the past 3 years, the Honduran government and the judiciary in particular have shown their bias in the judicial process for Berta Cáceres. They haven't called in the family, which own the energy development company. This is something that Berta's family's lawyers have been demanding since the process began. Some progress has been made, as the perpetrators of her killings are in jail, despite not being condemned, but it does mean the case is moving forward. Meanwhile, Berta's family are denouncing irregularities in the case file. They haven't been able to access it throughout these 36 months. Some of the tests put forward by Berta's lawyers have also been rejected by judges. The search for justice in the case of Berta Cáceres' murder continues.
That was Gilda Silvestrucci from Honduras. And now to the U.S. The teachers' strike in Oakland, California is officially over. After 7 days of striking, the Oakland Education Association tweeted that union members approved a new contract deal on Sunday. We have more stories coming up. We'll be back. Welcome back. The Mexican president has canceled a large gold mining project in the state of Baja California to protect the environment and water resources. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador decided to cancel the $1 million investment in the Sierra de la Laguna Biosphere Reserve because it is one of the main sources of drinking water in the region. The decision surprised many, as one of the president's closest allies, Ricardo Salinas Pliego, a high-profile businessman, had significant shares in the project. Hundreds of protesters have taken part of a vigil in Brazil in front of the prison where former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is detained. They are demanding his release. Protesters, political leaders, and sympathizers began to gather after Lula returned to the prison in Curitiba following his grandson's funeral. During the wake, followers of the Workers' Party leader denounced this act as political imprisonment. And during Carnival, demonstrations were also held in support of Lula and Venezuelan people. In the streets of Belo Horizonte, there were calls for freedom and sovereignty during a pro-Lula celebration. They also expressed solidarity with Venezuela's government, saying it's been the victim of U.S. imperialist attacks. With the far-right government of Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, prejudice against immigrants is on the rise. But a carnival bloco funded by Sao Paulo's Indian migrant community is breaking down the barriers.
Brazil, represented by the far-right Bolsonaro government, prejudice against immigrants is on the rise, but a carnival bloco founded by Sao Paulo's Indian immigrant community is breaking down barriers.
When I came to Brazil first time, I saw many street festivals, the carnival here, and it reminded me of street festivals in India. You know, in India we have a great tradition of people going out on the streets, playing music, playing bateria and dancing and playing colors. So I got an idea of creating something similar in Brazil and also to promote our culture, to reveal our Indian culture to Brazilian people, and also to mix Indian culture with the Brazilian culture, because we are migrants here, we live in this country, we love this country, and Brazilians love Indian culture.
With a drum group made up of university music students, the Bollywood bloco mixes Brazilian percussion with Bagra pop music. And the parade is led by a group of Indian and Brazilian women who perform synchronized dance moves. The bloco draws a crowd of all ages and socio-economic backgrounds.
It's been a long time since we dressed up for Carnival, and since we have this Indian team bloco in Sao Paulo, we decided to throw our costumes together, and we are calling ourselves Mahatma and Robin, which in Portuguese sounds like Batman and Robin.
Founded in 2015, the Bollywood bloco is getting more popular every year. This year, a local magazine named it as one of Sao Paulo's 10 best carnival bands. In a climate of growing xenophobia, this carnival group is breaking down barriers and fostering friendships.
This is a really good bloco because we Brazilians get to see a little of Indian culture. And you know, it's really fun and happy, and it helps destroy prejudices against the immigrant community.
I love India.
Brian Mir, Telesur, São Paulo.
And in Venezuela, thousands of families in the capital Caracas are enjoying the carnival holidays in peace. Several events and cultural programs are taking place across the city and around the country. The government has assured that security personnel will be deployed to guarantee the safety of the Venezuelan people during the holidays. Bolivians took part in an Asian tradition to kick off Carnival, a blessing of the workplace and homes across the country. They ask Mother Earth for protection.
Indigenous priests and priestesses led a ritual to commemorate Mother Earth. During the ceremony, they burned incense, while in Aymara they thanked for what the earth has given them, hoping to have more for the rest of the year.
What we produce in our territories is celebrated with our culture, our food, our language, music and dances. All of this joy, that expression of joy, is felt when we share our culture.
The Chaya, or blessing of the workspaces, is an ancestral tradition. In public and private offices, the ritual took place on Friday. On Tuesday, the ceremony will be held at home with every family member dressed up and having alcohol.
Carnival is what unites us, despite our economic and ideological differences. We're a big family. It's our tradition. That's what Bolivia is known for. Let's toast so we can have a good year.
During the blessing of the presidential palace, President Evo Morales asked Mother Earth to strengthen the political underway. He also asked for public officers to commit so this request can come true.
All, not only in Bolivia, but international organizations know that we are a better country than before. Why not do more efforts and work more for this?
The Chaya, or blessing, launches carnival celebrations. Here, the biggest expression of this celebration takes place in Oruro, with a parade of thousands of dancers and musicians that lasts for 18 hours.
And we continue with carnival celebrations. In Portugal, revelers fill the streets of Torres Vedras, the home of the country's most famous carnival. The event featured floats with satirical depictions of war-renowned figures, among them U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And even a figure of Cristiano Ronaldo, the country's most famous sportsman, also made an appearance. Men dressed as women, known as matrafonas, were also part of the traditional event.
Everyone participates in this carnival. It's a carnival for families. It's carnival with a lot of social satire and political satire. The Torres Vedras carnival is the most Portuguese carnival in Portugal.
It's special because we are different. It's a time to enjoy. There's no trouble amongst people. It's all very good, very good. I may be biased because I'm from Torres Vedras, but it's really good fun.
Mexico's Popocatépetl volcano has unleashed a powerful explosion that lit up the sky in the evening on Saturday. Residents in the area were recommended to wear masks to protect from volcanic ashes and gases polluting the air, but no evacuation was issued. With almost 5,500 meters above sea level, it is Mexico's second highest mountain. Its name comes from the Aztec word for smoking mountain. Uruguay's President Tabaré Vázquez has outlined the achievements made by his government in the last 4 years of his presidency. Let's see his record in office.
It was a much-anticipated speech. The election year has just kicked off in Uruguay, and it's no big surprise that thousands of citizens came to listen to President Tabaré Vázquez's speech that summarized what his government has achieved over the past 4 years. One of the things that Vázquez highlighted was the increase in the national minimum wage by 314% since the left-wing government took power.
We have been prioritizing wages and working conditions of the working and low-class citizens, and between 2004 and 2019, as you all know, their salaries have increased by 314%. All this because we want to ensure a national minimum salary that protects the weakest.
President Vázquez also listed the achievements in 10 sectors which were prioritized during his second term. These were education, healthcare, national housing, digitalization, and foreign policy, amongst others, especially regarding Uruguay's stance on the situation in Venezuela. The president said his government maintains a policy of non-interference.
We do not support any kind of foreign interference because we are faithful to the legacy of Uruguay and its government throughout history. We defend the sovereignty and self-determination of nations. Also, we believe in non-interference policies in the international affairs of nations and a peaceful resolution to controversial issues. And today we are happy to see that many countries follow this instance.
With regard to the economy, President Vázquez delivered some hard facts. Uruguay has been experiencing an uninterrupted economic growth over the last 14 years. This year, the economy is expected to grow by 2%, while projections for 2020 say that the growth will be between 2.5 and 3%. In the meanwhile, public and social security sectors are in need of improvement.
I think Tabaré has done a thorough and detailed review of progress in many sectors and acknowledged that there is still a lot of room for improvement. There are things to do in order to improve the well-being of our society, bring greater equity and more equal rights.
The opposition took to social media to criticize Vázquez's speech, but experts say there is overwhelming data to back the president's claims, although the public doesn't see much of it.
The truth is that one can come with enormous enthusiasm in recognizing and appreciating what the government has done for us. In your day-to-day hustling, you might not value everything they have done for us, but hopefully more and more people will recognize it.
President Vázquez ended his speech saying he has high expectations regarding the electoral campaign. He is ineligible to run again due to constitutional term limits, so the ruling party will have to choose a new candidate.
We'll take a short break now. Don't go away. Welcome back. The train service between India and Pakistan has resumed its operations after tensions have somewhat eased between the two neighbors. Trains started to run on the Indian side from Delhi to Attari and on the Pakistani side from Lahore to Wagah. The service was suspended on February 3rd due to escalating tensions after 40 Indian soldiers were killed in the disputed region of Kashmir. And India's Air Force chief has said they were not aware of the number of casualties after airstrikes targeted military camps in northwest Pakistan last Tuesday. Pakistan denied the existence of such camps.
That statement will be made by the government. No, I mean, Air Force is not in a position to clarify that how many people were inside at that way. We don't count human casualties. We count what targets have we hit or not hit.
Time's up in the please.
The bomb damage assessment that is done post a mission calculates the number of the target you've been hit or you've not been able to hit. We can't count how many people have died. That depends on how many people were there.
The Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Gheit has said that unrest and instability in some Arab countries has facilitated the emergence of terrorist groups in the region. During a joint meeting between Arab Interior and Justice Ministers in Tunis, he said that terrorism remains the most serious threat of all times in terms of the magnitude of losses and the effect on social stability.
These terrorist groups are still able to change their skin and develop their work methods to hit again. And unfortunately, the turmoil and fragmentation of some Arab countries is creating a space for the existence of such bloody groups.
The son of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and two other senior figures at the central bank in Liberia are due in court on Monday following a probe into missing banknotes. They were detained hours after investigators dismissed rumors that a haul of newly printed notes had gone missing. But a report by private consultants raised concerns about the accuracy of the bank's internal records. Sirleaf, the first elected female head of state in Africa, was president for 12 years. Egypt has released an award-winning photojournalist 5 years after his arrest. Mahmoud Abu Said was detained in 2013 while covering a sitting protest where security forces cracked down on supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. As part of his punishment, Abu Said has to spend every night for the next 5 years at a local police station. He was awarded the 2018 UNESCO Press Freedom Prize and says he will continue to work as a photojournalist. Massive protests continue in Algeria as its president confirmed he is running for a 5th term in office. Our correspondent Sergio Rodrigo has the details.
We're following the latest happening in Algeria. The president, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, has confirmed his bid for a 5th term in office. The announcement comes after 2 weeks of protests led by student movements to reject his nomination for election on April 18. In an official statement, Bouteflika confirmed his candidacy and said that if he's re-elected, he will lead a social reform and will create a national constituent assembly to write a new constitution. The draft constitution will then be put to a vote through a referendum. He also said that after the referendum, a new election will be called in which he will not contest. Algeria is one of the most significant countries in Africa and also one of the strongest economies on the continent, with its gas and oil trade.
Also correspondent Sergio Rodrigo. An Australian Catholic cardinal and convicted sexual offender, George Pell, is being sued by a man who claims he was sexually abused by him at a swimming pool in the 70s. The man's lawyer lodged the civil lawsuit in the state Supreme Court and said they will call at least 3 witnesses to testify against Pell. The victim is seeking damages for psychiatric injuries, loss of wages, and medical expenses. Pell was recently convicted of 5 counts of child sexual abuse of 2 choir boys in 1996 and 1997. A bus with anti-feminist propaganda commissioned by a Spanish right-wing group has been prevented from entering central Barcelona. The right wing in Spain has been pushing to remove laws aimed at countering gender violence. Young activists from the pro-Catalan independence Arran group stopped the bus on its way to the city center. Hazte Oír, the association responsible for the bus, has been denounced for attacking the dignity, rights, and freedom of women. With that, we come to the end of this news brief, but as you know, this and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telesurenglish.net. And you can also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.